Pilgrims, it's Carrie again, just checking in and giving you a summary of what's happened this past week. I'm coming to you from Villafranca del Bierzo, and stay tuned for all the updates. So day 22 was Lyon to Mazarif. It was a very road heavy day because it takes a while to get out of Lyon. I just remember like doing a lot of road walking and seeing a lot of sort of the industrial parts of Lyon. Took a really long time to get out of that city. And then once we started to kind of get out into the outskirts and everything, there was nothing really special. I did run into the married guys from North Carolina who had met up with their friends who flew in from North Carolina also to walk the last little bit of the Frances with them. But instead of going from Sarria to Santiago, because that's such a heavy trail with all the pilgrims that come in and just do the last 100,000 kilometers to get their Compostela, they're kind of going, they're traveling after Osobrero kind of underneath, I guess, south, and then they're going to come up to Santiago this way. So they're going to avoid all of that traffic. They have all done the Camino Frances before, so they just decided that they wanted to kind of get out of the pilgrim parade and kind of take a least traveled way into Santiago. So tomorrow, actually, tonight is the last day I will see them. They booked with Camino Ways also, so I've been seeing them a lot at each of the places that I've stayed. So that's been really nice to have people kind of looking out for you. And I'll be sad to say goodbye to them tomorrow, because they are staying in a different city than I am. And but anyway, I'm getting off track. Getting back to day 22. That day, like I said, a lot of road walking. Then we got into the rural areas. And once we got to Mazarif, I did notice that I had one more instance in my itinerary where I had to be shipped forward. So in the past, I'd been shipped backwards and then brought back to where I had walked to. This time I was shipped forwards to Villanesca, I think was the name of the town. And then I had to be brought back to sort of walk to get back to where I ended. The place that we stayed at was like this little bed and breakfast. It was really, really neat. There were 4, 5, 6, 7 of us there that night. And it was the two guys from North Carolina, their 2 friends, which I had met that day, so I knew them. And then there was this lady from Australia that I had walked with like a couple weeks before, and then some guy from France, and then me. So the only person I didn't know that day was the guy from France. But it was a really nice little dinner that we had. Just a general Spanish dinner. Of course, we had some ham, but the main dish was chicken, so I was really happy about that. And I can't remember what else we had, but I do remember it just being a really nice, relaxing evening. And the place was just so cute. It used to be a mill, and the lady had retrofitted it into, she had her own living quarters, she and her husband, and then the rest of it was kind of like this hotel for pilgrims, and it was the cutest. So really had a good time that night. Didn't enjoy the walk that day, but I had a good time that night. And that was day 22. So day 23 was Mazarif to Hospital d'Orbejo. And that day had a lot of road walking too. So like I had mentioned, the name of the town that I stayed in was Villavante. I do apologize. I misnamed it in the previous video, but I traveled back to Mazarif where I was picked up the day before, and then it literally was just walking down this long stretch of a road for about a good, 6 miles maybe. And then it kind of turned off into this real agricultural area of Spain. Like literally we were walking in between like planted stuff here, planted stuff there, different things over here. It was nuts. And then finally it turned into this other little town that we were able to stop off for second breakfast, or, pit stop, whatever you want to call it. And then from there, it was a lot of walking back to where I had actually slept that night. And a little bit past that, if I would have started walking where I stayed, it would have only been like a 4 kilometer day. But, I wasn't going to cheat like that. So, but finally made it back to where I stayed, and I waved to the lady, and kept walking to Osabrero. So to me, that was like not a very special day until I said Osabrero, sorry, Hospital d'Orbejo. Once I got to Hospital d'Orbejo, however you say it, you started to see all these flyers and flags everywhere. Turns out that weekend, this was a Friday, that weekend they were having jousting tournaments. So back in the Middle Ages in that particular city, they did a lot of jousting. And so I guess now in the summer or late May, early June, they have jousting tournaments, and it's a big deal. And like the whole town, it's like it's almost like there's food carts everywhere and just like flags everywhere. So I try to take as many pictures as I could to kind of show you all of that sort of stuff. The only problem with that day, though, was because everybody was setting up their booths, there wasn't a lot of food already prepared. And, here in Spain, they take their siesta. And by the time I got into town, I couldn't get any, like an early dinner or a late lunch. I had to wait until 7 o'clock to go and eat. So that was kind of hard because I hadn't eaten anything all day long. And I was looking, I did go out and about around town to look for something that I might be able to just like snack on even. But like I said, they do siestas here. And even the bars will be open, but they won't be serving food until 7 o'clock. So they usually stop around 1 or 2 o'clock, and then it's nothing but drinks in the bars until about 7. So that was kind of a rough day, but finally did get some dinner. It was really good. I opted for chicken. And there was spaghetti. Oh, how did Mom like her pasta? However she liked it was how it was cooked. Carbonara. So that was delicious. And then I had ice cream from dessert. But yeah, that was kind of a very unsatisfactory day until I got into Hospital d'Orbejo and saw all that stuff being set up. I thought that was kind of neat. And that was day 23, 24. I don't know, they're blending in. Okay, day 24 was Hospital d'Orbejo to Astorga. And that day you started to notice you were getting back into the hills, because once again the Camino would take you up a hill and down a hill and up a hill and down a hill. They weren't huge hills, and it's almost as if the Camino trains you for what's coming the next day. So I don't know if that's on purpose, or if somewhere along the line somebody thought about that when they were setting up the route. I don't know, but that's exactly what it seems like. Whatever you're going to do the next day, you're going to get practice on the day before. But anyway, I digress. Like I said, there was a lot of hills, and I do remember that particular day kind of laughing because you're starting to see some new pilgrims, because not everybody starts in Sarria. Some of them back it up to like Leon, and some of them back it up to Astorga, and they just kind of walk, what they're doing is they're getting away from the Meseta. They'll jump ahead either from Burgos and then jump ahead to Astorga, or Leon, to try to get out of the Meseta. Or there's some people who literally will just start in Leon or start in Astorga. So you start to see some new faces. And I remember seeing these two guys. They were walking, And I guess they had already gotten bored because they kept throwing the frisbee back and forth. So like one guy was literally walking backwards, the other guy was walking forwards, and they just kept doing the frisbee back and forth. I was like, okay, that's a little unnecessary. You're showing off, but whatever. I just thought that was hilarious that they were putting that much effort into it. And all I could think of is, well, you must have just started, because if you had started in St. John, you wouldn't be messing around like that. But let's see, walking into Astorga, that took a long time. A lot of rural walking that day, which was fine. But I think I showed you in the video that I prepared for that day, that crazy, crazy bridge that they built for the pilgrims just to get them over the railroad track. I just mean, that must have gone out to the highest bidder, because that was the most inefficient bridge I've ever seen. And I think it actually added like a whole kilometer to the walk. It's crazy. But in Astorga, I stayed at a really nice hotel. And I think Astorga is one of my favorite cities. It's not too big, it's not too small. And that is where, because that was a Saturday night that I got there, that was the night that I had been looking all day to find a church to go to Mass. Okay, here's the thing. In all these cities, there's like multiple churches, but not all of them are actually in use. Some of them they use that they've been there so long that you can go in and get a stamp for your credentials for a little donation, but they don't use the church for Mass. Or, it's one that they do use for Mass, and you can still go in and get a stamp and take pictures, but they don't, it's not very, even when you go on the websites, it's not very apparent when the Mass times are. So I had found an old thread on the Camino chat, I guess, and it said that there was this one church that was really close to where I was staying that night that was going to have a 7:00 Mass. So I went downstairs to concierge and I had them confirm that for me. And they looked up and they're like, yeah, 7:00. So, 6:45 rolls around and I walk over to the church and it's not open. And I kind of wait a little bit and it's not opening. So I'm thinking, okay, I don't think they're going to have Mass. So I remembered that the concierge had mentioned one other church, and I thought, okay, I'm going to try to go find this church. But I do remember specifically saying, I was praying to Mary, I'm like, Mary, I'm really trying. I'm trying to find your son. I know I need to go to church. Help me, please help me. And it's so funny because this is when she sent me to that church. I think it was, can't remember the name of it now. I'm so ashamed, but it's right next to the big cathedral in Astorga. It was a beautiful, well-kept church. And I pull in and I'm thinking there's like two older ladies that are sitting towards the front of the church and they're like praying. But I went up to one of them. I'm thinking that, I missed Mass, and I was really upset because I wasn't going to be able to, I could try to go to church Sunday night, but where I was heading to the next day was kind of a really small town, and the chances that I would catch a Mass was, practically nil. So I'm thinking, okay, I guess I'll just sit here and pray. When the lady finally, kind of stopped her praying and she sat back in the pew, I asked her, I said, Peregrino Misa? And she said, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. She said, ocho. So here it was like 7:05. And I was like, okay, I guess the least I could do is just sit here until 8:00 until Mass starts and, talk to God a little bit. But sure enough, all of a sudden here comes this priest and more women. It just seemed like a ton of old ladies started coming into the church, and they put out adoration and said the rosary. It's the best I could gather that that's what they were saying. Because I'd gone to St. Catherine's before where they've done the kind of multinational rosary before, where they kind of do some of the decades in different languages. And I'm pretty sure that's what they were saying. But the coolest thing, actually it was a little jarring. What they did was when they put the host out for adoration, they put the host in the monstrance, and then it's like they clicked on this light, so it made it look translucent. And it was a little jarring to me only because it's like, that's how I would imagine it would look like if a miracle was about to happen. So I had a hard time looking at it. I was like, Jesus, you're a little bright for me today. But I just thought it was so funny. And then, they had mass at 8 o'clock, and I stayed for that. And I was able to receive communion. So I was thrilled with that because, the week before I didn't get to receive. But I just remembered thinking, don't get frustrated with Mary because she'll give you all the bells and whistles. Or, I wasn't upset with her, but I was like, Mary, I'm really trying. You're going to have to help me here. She helped. She helped a lot. So that was kind of an interesting evening. I really enjoyed Astoria, and I think because of what happened at the church, and it seemed like it was a really vibrant parish. Everywhere else I've gone, it just seems like there's been more pilgrims than that there have been actual parishioners. But this one, I think there was a lot of parishioners there, and it was kind of good to see because, you expect Spain to be this Catholic country, and they've got all these churches, and they're beautiful, but the churches aren't full, you know. They're falling away from Catholicism just like everywhere, and it's kind of sad to see because, like I said, they have all these beautiful churches, old, beautiful churches. But anyway, so that was a very vibrant parish, though, you could tell. And everybody was dressed up to the nines, and I felt really crappy in my pilgrim wear, but whatever. I was there. And it was just a really nice night. And then after that, I went and I had a little bite to eat at this bar. And like I said, I stayed in a really nice hotel that night, had a bathtub, and I soaked, and it was really nice. So Astorga is definitely one of my favorite of the bigger towns because it's not too big and not too small. It was just right. And that was day 24. Day 25 was Astorga to Rabanal del Camino. And that day, a little bit of everything. So there was a little bit of rural walking, a little bit of town walking. I do remember it being, like lots of little cute towns along the way, though, not these big ones. Astorga is a bigger city, and then just like a lot of, I guess they're like not suburbs because they're a little further away to be a suburb, but they're like these little clusters of really cute towns. That's what I remember from that day. Um, I think I took some pictures of some of the buildings in those little towns. I just thought they were super cute. But what I remember about that day mostly is that the flowers were really just like in bloom and beautiful. And one of the things that I took a picture of, but when I went back to kind of like put it into the video for that day, I realized instead of hitting like a photo, I hit a video, and the video was like of the ground because I thought I had already taken the picture, but I must have hit the video thinking it was a picture, and then like I dropped the camera and you just see my feet walking. But along the way, there was like this barbed wire fence and a whole bunch of crosses on it. So you could tell over the years, pilgrims had picked up sticks and they literally were making crosses and putting them all along the barbed wire fence. I mean, this barbed wire fence went for like miles. I don't know, maybe that's a bit of an exaggeration, but it's so long, and there's all these crosses. And I did pick up 2 sticks, and I made a cross my own. And again, I thought I took a picture of it, but it must have been on video. So unfortunately, I don't have those pictures to share or, to remember. But I left a little piece of me out on the trail along that barbed wire fence with all of the different crosses. It's kind of cool. And like I said, not a lot to say about that day. It was a long day, but it just beautiful towns, beautiful flowers. Rabanal del Camino is a very quaint little town. And of course, where I was staying was at the very top of the hill. So after all that walking, I ran into the guys from North Carolina and their friends. They were eating lunch because they walk so much faster than me. I don't make them walk with me. Um, they were eating lunch, and then as I start walking in, they're clapping. So that was kind of cool. And they're like, now you just got to go up the hill. So up the hill I went, but that meant I didn't have to do it the next morning. And I stayed at this cute little place. I mean, it wasn't the cutest I've ever seen, but it had a bar downstairs where I could get some sodas. So I appreciated that. And it was just a cool day. And I think that's the day that I got some audio of the trees singing. I just love it when you can hear the trees swaying in the wind. That's so cool to me. Anyway, that was day 25. Okay, day 26. Day 26 was Cruise to Faro Day. And I don't know why, but I thought it was going to be the next day because a lot of people will walk let me see how to explain this. So it's usually like a 30-kilometer day, and you do half and half, or sorry, a lot of people do the full 30 kilometers, but I had broken it up into 2 separate days. So I thought Cruise Fair was going to be on the second day. So I was quite surprised when I came up on it. But I was ready. I had my rock ready, and I left my rock and shed some stuff there. Well, at least I'm trying to shed some stuff there. I left the rock. It meant something to me. And we'll see if it stays there. But I dropped it off in good faith that I would leave it behind. Anyways, after that, though, I have the biggest grievance with the Camino de Santiago. From that point to the end of the day and the next day, I just truly believe that those walking days should be illegal because they were very harrowing. The type of surface that you have to walk on was beyond ridiculous. And the saddest thing about this particular day is that it probably had some of the most beautiful views of the whole entire trip outside of the first day. Mountains, but the thing is, if you're looking down constantly trying to navigate the rocks situation, you're not seeing what's around you. So that was why it was probably my least favorite day walking. My second favorite day of views. There was a little truck at this one old abandoned town that served like coffee and drinks and had like some things to eat or whatever. And when I was at that little pit stop, I met this guy who was from the UK, originally from India, and he's a doctor, and he had walked the Camino the year before. I met this one guy from Ireland, and he and this guy were walking like the last little, they started in Leon and they were walking to Santiago together because they really enjoyed each other's company from the year before. So whatever. Got to know him a little bit. As I was, I left from that truck and I'm walking through all this ridiculous, rocks situation. And it's not a very well kept trail either because like in certain parts, like the flowers, you can barely get through the flowers. Anyways, at a certain point, I saw the doctor and the Irish guy walking on the road, and they're like, "Don't do that. Get off the trail, walk the road." And I'm so glad that I did because it was when I started walking on the road that I could actually take in the views around me. And oh my gosh, like they were gorgeous. They were so gorgeous. And I just, the sad part about it is that the trail was really close to the road. and you knew that you were going to get to where you were going because all the cyclists were taking the road and not the trail. So in most cases, the cyclists will actually travel the same route that the walkers do. But in instances where I guess it's too dangerous for the cyclists to do that, they take the road. And I'm thinking, well, if it's too dangerous for the cyclists, it should be too dangerous for the walkers. But I digress. So thankfully, I got out on the road and I took some of those pictures. They were just absolutely gorgeous, I think. And this other lady, she saw me because the doctor and his friend, of course, are super fast walkers. So they went in ahead. And I'm kind of walking on the road by myself. And this lady saw me and she got off the trail and she's like, I saw you walking and I thought I'd do the same thing. She's like, boy, these are really beautiful views. I'm like, I know, right? But you can't see them when you're paying attention to the ground so much, but whatever. There was a point though where we weren't sure like how much extra kilometers it would add to a day's walk by taking the road. So we got back on the trail, and I think that was a big mistake for me because where we got on was probably the most treacherous of the whole day. Because when I was walking the road, I could see the trail and I could see pilgrims on the trail, and it was a little bit more flat and kind of just following along the road. But the part that we got on immediately started to go down. And let me tell you, I used to hate going up hills, but now I really hate going down hills. They're just so rough on your feet. And not only that, but it's like you could slip, you could fall, and I have little legs, so I can't like do some of the long stretches that everybody else can to like get past certain rocks. I don't know how to explain it, but anyway, she and I were both like, oh, we made a big mistake. We should have stayed on the road. But eventually I got to where I was going, which I can't think of the name of the town. I'll mention it in the next video, but finally made it there. But I was like spent by the time I got there. I just was like, it was a combination of being tired because it was a long day, but also like mentally I was spent because I literally was like concentrating so hard on where I was walking that it just like sucked up all the energy out of me, which was really sad because that day had started out like really overcast and like really nice and cool and a nice walk. And then, like I said, I came upon Cruz de Ferro, and that was a nice surprise. And I should mention that when I got to Cruz de Ferro, the fog and the clouds had like, got vanished, and now you had all this beautiful sun. And then it was just like hot, and there were all these rocks, and I was slipping, and it was just, I did not like that day. I liked the beginning of the day. I did not like the end of the day. And then I do have to say, though, that at least the place that I stayed in was really nice. Had a dinner there, a pilgrim's meal there. And that's when I met these two guys. And I want to clarify some stuff that I think I sent in the Parlette chat. That's when I talked to these two fellas from San Francisco who had started like a few days after I did. And they were the ones that told me about the French guy that fell over the cliff, the guy that had a heart attack on his first day. And then I had told them that I knew that some lady had broken her leg walking down to Zubiri on the Dragon's Teeth. So I think in the text that was sent out, it would lead you to believe that that had to do with the hill that I navigated yesterday, where I almost slipped off the cliff. So that didn't happen all in at that particular day. I'm just saying, since I've been on the trail, these are the stories that the pilgrims are talking, that they know about things that have happened to other pilgrims along the way. So I just wanted to make that clear. But yeah, that was a treacherous day. didn't care for the second half. I think if I would have walked the road from that truck on, because that's where the doctor and the Irish guy said they just started walking the road from that point on, and I think I would have really enjoyed it, but I should have never gotten back on that trail. It was horrible. It was and frustrating, and I do remember saying to myself, I did not sign up for this, not at all. I understand that the Camino is going to put you through your punches. It's gonna challenge you, but that just was a whole nother level of something I didn't sign up for. Did not care for that at all. So if I ever were to come out here and do it again, I just would walk the road. Absolutely. The next day, however, I would just skip it all together, but I'll tell you about that in the next video. So where are we at? Day 26, I think. I'll tell you about 27 in a second. Okay, day 27. But before we start day 27, I just wanted to go back and say that day 26 was Rabanal del Camino to Asiabo. So day 27 was Asiabo de Ponferrada. And this was the day I almost bit the dust and met my maker. Trying to remember how the day even started, because it didn't start out with that hill at all. I'm just trying to remember. There was just like I don't remember, because my mind goes straight to the hills that had a bunch of shale. Okay, I do remember now. Asiabo, we had come downhill to get to Asiabo. And then from Asiabo, you had to go downhill again. So the day started with a big descent. And I remember ironically saying to this one guy that this downhill seemed to be very similar to what they tell you not to take when you first start the Camino in Saint Jean. So when you start the Camino of Saint Jean and you're going to Roncesvalles, they tell you in the pilgrim's office, make sure you take this road and go to the right, because it's a lot easier to get down than if you go to the left, because it's very steep. So I remember telling this one guy, as we're going down this hill, I was like, I'm pretty sure this is, the same kind of downhill that they were telling us not to take on the first day. He goes, I guess they figure we have our trail legs now and we can do anything. So that was kind of hard to navigate, because it was like straight down. Still hadn't hit the shale yet, so I was able to get down okay. It wasn't my favorite part, but anyways, so got down that hill, and then there was a little bit of flat walking into this one little just quiet town. I guess everybody was still sleeping because there was nobody out. And cute little town, like I said. But it immediately took you, like, instead of just having you finish walking the full town out to the end of the road, it made you go down, and I don't know why, but this is where this crap started. There's nothing but shale, straight down. And I'm looking at it like, how do they expect us to get down this? And like I said, I've got little legs, so I can't. It's harder for me to it's just harder for me. And so I think I took some pictures of that to show you what I had to walk down. There was this one guy though, I remember thinking, holy crap, I'm sitting there like, like very carefully trying to get down this shale. And here comes this guy and he's just running it. And I'm thinking, how do you stop yourself at the end of this? I don't know how you, he was going so fast. He was running down it. I'm surprised I didn't see him dead at the bottom when I got there. But then there was a little bit of forest walking and I'm thinking, oh, this is going to be a good day. And then you just get into this mess, because So to get to Cruz de Ferro, you were going up, 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 up. And I believe Cruz de Ferro is is like the second highest point on the whole Camino. So you got yourself up there. You do have to eventually come down. And while it wasn't as steep going down as it was going up, the surface that you had to walk on was beyond ridiculous. So even on the shale, there's like these little pebbles and little rocks. And when you step, if you're not paying attention, or even if you are paying attention, you could slide. And the way the shale is, and it's kind of like your hand, right? So the shale is like this, and you're walking, but you could slide across the shale. And that's exactly what happened to me on the trail. And it got to a point where most of the walk along this area, there were, bushes that separated you from going over. So at least there was some sort of barrier. And, I'm afraid of heights. So for me, mentally, because I had to walk this, I couldn't think about the fact that on the other side of those bushes was a drop. I had to be like, okay, this is my barrier, and I'm okay as long as I'm in this barrier. Well, it got to the point in that day where that barrier just stopped, and it's just you along the shale, and right over there you could fall off the trail. And so I think that's part of what led me to kind of slip a little bit, is I was kind of paying too much attention. I'd gotten into my head a little bit too much about, oh, I don't have my barrier. I can see how high up I am. And I I was stepping, and I walked, and I slid down the shale, and then I just stopped, and I looked over, and I was like, I was about 2 feet away from falling off the thing. And I tell you what, I didn't process it until after I had gotten down. I knew enough at that point to be like, oh, that was kind of scary, but there was a part of me that instinctually knew I had to just get down this hill before I could even wrap my head around what had just happened. So finally, it probably took me, I don't know, 2 or 3 hours to get down this thing, because I literally was pokey, 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 pokey all the way down. It got so embarrassing that this one girl, she was kind of behind me, and I didn't hear, because a lot of times my backpack makes so much noise, I think there is somebody behind me, and then sometimes my backpack makes noise and I'm thinking it's my backpack, and there actually is someone behind me. And she was behind me, and I looked behind me like that. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, go ahead. She's walking the damn thing in her bare feet. I was like, she was carrying her shoes, because I guess they were causing her blisters, but I'm like, you're walking in your bare feet? And she's still going faster than me, but whatever. I could not believe it. And she made it down. I saw her in the town that's right after that. I don't even know what to call that area. It's just an area I will never walk again. But it did go, once you finally made it down the bottom of that hill, Molinesca is the name of the town. I just thought it was such a cute little place. I stayed there for quite some time. I got myself a soda, and I got myself it was some kind of chocolate Danish, because I deserved it after all that crap. And I just remember kind of, as I'm sitting there eating and drinking, it that's when I started to feel what I probably should have felt when I nearly fell off the cliff. But I think I knew instinctively, like I said, that I needed to put that out of my mind to get myself through that situation. And then it started to dawn on me what had happened. I did have the right mind to stop into that church after that hill. Before you get into Molineska, one of the first things you pass is that church. And I went in and I did go in there and I was like, oh, thank you, Lord. Thank you. My guardian angel was working overtime today. I appreciate him so much. But like I said, I'm sitting there eating and drinking, and it's kind of, I almost had like a miniature panic attack. Just thinking about, oh my gosh, I almost orphaned my kids. Well, not orphaned them, they have Steve. Shame on me for saying that. But, I could have bit the dust. And thankfully, the rest of that day was a lot of road walking. And I'm very grateful for that. And even though it was long and there weren't a lot of pretty views, I just remember thinking, at least I'm off that hill. At least I'm off that hill. Which brings us to today, which is day 28. And let's see, I went from Ponferrada to, where are we today? Villafranca. Nothing but road walking. The whole thing was nothing but road walking. But again, after yesterday, I'll take it. I'll take it. It was a long day. It was about a 25-kilometer day. So it really sucked the life out of me, because I think 25 kilometers is my max before I really start hurting. And it just was a really long day. My feet are kind of in pain, but and my legs are a little in pain, but they should hopefully be fine tomorrow. I took some pictures. I'll throw them in this video too, but nothing super special about today. The big day is tomorrow. Tomorrow I walk up to Osabrera. Okay, here's the deal. I don't know why Camino Ways did not break this into 2 separate days, because I know at least towards the end of the itinerary, I had requested that all the, anything over 25 kilometers needed to be split into 2 days. But for some reason, tomorrow I'm supposed to walk from Villafranca to Osabrera, which would be like 30 kilometers. Osabrera is a huge mountain, and it's the last big push getting you into Galicia before you get to Santiago. And as a matter of fact, tomorrow will be 7 days before I hit Santiago. So it'll be, my last week starts tomorrow. There's no way I can walk 25 kilometers and then turn around and climb a mountain. So I have requested a cab to drive to the town that's just outside of where the push starts to go to Osabrera. And I need to check on that. There's so many people requesting taxis and for tomorrow. The guy who actually runs this hotel was like, okay, I need to call them and I'll let you know in a couple of hours what they say, what time that they can pick you up. So I gotta go check on that. But at any rate, tomorrow is my big day. And then the next day after that, I stay in Osabrera. I've got to go down. All right, so I'm going to need your prayers for tomorrow, which is Thursday, and for Friday. If I could get through these last 2 days, I think the rest of the week will just be like, I'll be able to just enjoy it. Just enjoy the last few days of walking. Sorry. So please keep me in your prayers. I really want to do this. I want to make this last climb. I have watched videos and the trail's much better maintained. It's nothing like when it's been like the last few days. So I think it'll be doable. I don't think that there's cause for concern for the next 2 days, but it's going to be a lot to get up to Osabrero, and then it's going to be a lot to come down from Osabrero. So please keep me in your prayers, and that kind of brings us to where we are. Osabrero, like I said, is at the top of a mountain, and I don't know what the Wi-Fi situation is going to be up there. I don't know if it's like super amplified because it is at the top of a mountain, or if it's like such a little town that it's, not going to have much reception at all. So if there isn't a video for tomorrow, that's why. I will do my best to get one out, but like I said, if I can't upload the video to YouTube because there's no connection, well, then it'll be uploaded the next day. But I am getting down to the wire, and I just, again, want to thank you all for following me on this journey, for supporting me on this journey, and I can't believe 7 days, just 7 more days. And then after that, a couple more days and I'll be home. So, all right, that's it for this summary. And a little bit more to come. So, love you all. Bye.